All right, good morning, everybody. This is January 12th, 2021. This is the CAPN office hours call. As always, this is a recorded meeting, so don't say anything you wouldn't want to be put up on YouTube later. And if you can, I've dropped a link and I'll drop another one in case new folks that have just joined don't have it yet. But in the chat for Zoom, there is a link to the actual attendee or the agenda doc, if you can add yourself to the attendees. And if you have anything you want to talk about, we do have a short agenda. If you have anything you want to bring up, please add those to the agenda and we can get started. Cool. And the first thing is there's a couple new there's one new folk right now. Scott, if you'd like to, you can give yourself an introduction.
Yeah, hi everyone. Scott Rosenberg from TerraSky, a systems integration company leading the Kubernetes efforts for implementation by our customers. Dealing a lot with Cluster API and excited to get to learn CAPN as well and start implementing it.
Cool, thanks for that. And I don't have any PSAs. Faye, I don't know if you have anything you want to bring up to the group before we go into the two agenda items.
Oh no, so yeah, I was just looking at one in the Slack channel you discussed with I think Bright, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I probably will follow up on that. If I didn't misunderstood, what they said is that CAPN points to CAPI. Is this what he's trying to do?
Yeah, so it sounded like I add that as the first agenda item because I wanted to start us off here with that at least. So it sounded like Bright was trying to figure out exactly if we need to move all of VC's, all of the functions around VC that are related to syncing actually into this project. They were saying that.
What's that? Okay, let me see.
Yeah, so if you click on the link in the agenda here, I can actually pull it up too. Let me share my screen. So I think it was a good, oh, I actually can't because it's Slack and I'm not going to open up Slack. So if you click on that link, you can actually go see the conversation. But Bright was bringing up that it doesn't technically have to be homed within CAPN for all of the syncing logic and all the custom stuff, because realistically, the way that VC is built and the way that you all have implemented already doesn't actually use the same provider work that we're doing from the upstream to provision clusters, for example. And so Bright was kind of saying, what if there was a different split in the project where it was you still have a new way to provision nested control planes, but then also still have a separate project that was doing the syncing logic so that it didn't really matter where the control plane provider was coming from. So the Kappa provider, for example, could work, or you could use EKS, or you could use Polygon, or anything like that, any of those providers, but make it so that it's independent of the project.
I see.
And I don't,
yeah,
my 2 cents. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, I didn't realize. I would think he just want to say that kind of extending the current tenant operator, because current tenant operator has 2 modes, right? One is AliCloud mode, one is local mode. So we were trying to replacing the local mode with CAPN, and maybe he suggests that maybe we should continue the cloud mode, current cloud mode thing, point to different cloud providers. That's my understanding.
Gotcha.
Now I see what you're saying. So saying that if we do that direction, we want to support more cloud vendors. That piece of logic should come along with VC instead of CAPN.
Yeah, it's a different approach. I'm not against it. I think my current thought process is we're probably going to have a couple iterations on this whole project as we go, and giving it a place, like at least giving us a place to solve some of the problems we had early on with VC, where we couldn't actually instill proper like build pipelines, and like the problems of just basic development within the multi-tenancy repo and being able to get to an actual virtual cluster sub project that's separate. I think this is at least gives us a progression where once we have a CAPN provider built in place and we have some of the functions around syncing and all that re-implemented, and it works for both the older functions and the new stuff, that we could kind of potentially propose another project. Is the way that I was approaching, or the way that I was expecting that we would approach it.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I think we need to have a single place to combine efforts. So I was thinking, because multi-tenancy is not really a good place to holding everything. The shared repo with other projects anyway. So yeah, I agree. So I think we should first approach is moving everything spread out. Yeah, I think that's maybe we should have another thing. If it's pretty mature, just moving VC stuff to another repo, if that is possible or that's worth doing. So because I see these two things are tied together. I don't have a strong feeling that the syncer, because syncer alone doesn't work. I mean, if you only have a syncer, you don't have all the round of CAPN stuff, control plane. It won't work. Yeah. But I do see. Let us think about it. So should we, keep that interface? That interface in the sense that has a cloud mode provider kind of thing, existing. But
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder. Like, as we go down this path, if we do end up with something where you could deploy a nested cluster, and a nested cluster is just a reference to a control plane endpoint type, then it doesn't really matter what the provisioning tool is there. It's just we need that one CR that represents where you're going to get your kubeconfig file and where you're going to get the endpoint that you're going to connect to for that nested cluster to work.
And I think that is actually point to the way that how we should define the NCP CRD, right? It's like the NCP CRD probably needs to provide some flexibility, just point to an existing control plane.
Yeah. Because if you don't need to actually go and do that, and you want to use a managed control plane, it should be totally fine to do that. So as long as we build that way, it doesn't seem like we're stopping that from working.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I agree. So it's just an interface thing. It's just the controller kind of thing. So maybe.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. I don't know if you want to respond. Okay. Cool.
He's last.
Cool. As well, if anybody else that is interested in adding anything to this, and has seen that conversation that's going on, you're more than welcome to chime in.
Yeah. Maybe just give some background. So currently, the way that I implement the tenant operator is I have two modes, the local mode and the cloud mode. So it's just a CRD is who provides exactly what Chris said, who gives you the credential to access the control plane. That's all about it. We are CAPN trying to replacing the entire local mode kind of thing, because local mode, there is no way to do the upgrade, and we use the in-memory etcd. There's no persistent storage at all. It's just for protecting purpose. But we do have some internal usage because the entire VC has been in some of the cloud product already. In that thing, we use the cloud mode provider. So do exactly we don't have the problem of persistent storage. How do you manage it? It's all separated. It's like VC plugged with the EKS. You can think about that. Or but we don't have a support for EKS yet, because you need to write a bunch of new controllers to call the EKS API, which we haven't done. By the way, if anyone wants to try that, write a small controller to call EKS API, that's more than welcome.
I think that's one of the nice things about kind of shifting us towards CAPI's APIs as well, because if we use the standard location and path for kubeconfig files from a management cluster, it makes it pretty easy, because every provider should be using that same secret name and location associated with their cluster, which I think helps, because then we don't even need to have anybody implement a special provider for any of the managed solutions or even like COPS or anything like that. We could just use off the shelf tools and just say, here's the new endpoint. And you already, because it's CAPI deployed, you already know what the secret name is going to be for the kubeconfig file, for the admin config at least, which I think is beneficial.
Hey, Chris, what do you mean? What do you refer to by CAPI?
I more so just mean the actual, the generic interfaces. So being able to use any of the other providers is what I mean by that. So being able to use Kappa and CapV and so on and so forth.
So what are the acronyms referring to?
Specifically like the cluster API provider for AWS or for vSphere or any other provider that would provide a control plane.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. I'm more familiar with the the autoscaler and how the different cloud providers sort of, they each provide their own implementation according to the interface. I thought that was a nice solution. I don't know. Seems like you're describing something where you wouldn't even have to do something like that, but that's also, I thought, a nice option.
Let's see. Yeah. So this is kind of what I'm getting at, and I'm still sharing my screen, I believe. So, or at least Chrome. So the things that I think are interesting here is because we'll have something like when you go and generate your kubeconfig, all of the providers should have some sort of path like this to have generated a kubeconfig file. There's locations for them. Actually, kubeconfig developer guide. So all of the actual kubeconfig files should end up as a, is this the right one?
Yeah, it's at the cluster name minus kubeconfig in the namespace in which the cluster was created.
Thank you, Scott.
Always.
Yeah. Yep. Which makes it easy because then our implementation doesn't have to think about anything special. It just knows that it's the cluster name. Yeah, exactly as Scott said. Cool. All right. I feel like that makes sense. I also wanted to bring up another thing. Our agendas are super lightweight right now. I think it's beginning of the year and all that as well. But I'm contemplating whether we should move these to bi-weekly because we don't have a ton that we're bringing up and there's only a handful of us working on the project right this very second. Interested everybody else's thoughts on that. Every 2 weeks bi-weekly, I mean.
I understand, but I would still prefer bi-weeks for just a couple more weeks because I think outside we'll have more things to talk after Charles come back from his vacation. I think we too need to push on NCP design. I think we still have a handful of things to discuss. I would suggest once we do the real development mode, we probably can
get to them.
If we can predict in the next 2 weeks, we are just going to be coding, so that's okay.
Cool.
To move 2 weeks.
All right, that sounds good. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there as a suggestion because we kind of go back and forth on whether on what our agendas really look like. All right, and I don't have anything to share on the NCP side of things. I'm still dragging my feet on that, so I need to get on to writing that doc a bit more.
Yeah,
and
so
then that's the.
Yeah, since there are some new guys here, I probably give a heads up. So I was trying to move, working on the, if somebody watches for the multi-tenancy report, you guys may notice that I'm currently working on a experimental project in terms of VCs by supporting multiple superclusters instead of one. So yeah, I think I can expose more. Maybe next meeting I can show more details about what I'm trying to do. Yeah, just give you guys a heads up. So it's kind of, you can think about it as kind of another way to, I will define it as another way to do the multi-cluster management, which is different from Kubernetes Federation. But under the condition that is fitting more like in the VC scenario, it's like a serverless. You don't need to understand the underlying cluster details from the tenant perspective. It's more a multi-tenant solution. So for federation, it's kind of slightly different. It's like you know everything. You already know how many clusters you have. So, but you just need to have a easy, convenient, place to manage those clusters. Like you have to specify how many replicas in class A, how many replicas in class B. So in VC with multi-cluster, I was trying to hide this kind of complexity in the sense that you only work on your virtual cluster. You just see one cluster, but underlying for the pod provider perspective, you probably have multiple clusters. Yeah, that's my goal, and there are indeed some use cases for that. Just give you guys a heads up for the new guys.
Cool.
Yeah, and Chris, just one note also on the back to the CAPN and using like Kappa or CapV or something like that as the control plane. The one issue that I can already think of with that, just in terms of a complexity with the design, will be that CAPI currently you can only have one CAPI provider watching a single namespace. So because it uses also the CAPI base CRDs for machine control plane, things like that, the secret for the kubeconfig is going to be in a different namespace. Because if you have CapV, for example, on a specific namespace, that's where the kubeconfig is going to be and not in the CapN namespace. So you're going to have to copy over the secrets or whatever it is in order to use them.
I see. Interesting.
That's a really good call out. Yeah. And I think so. Faye, I think that also aligns with what we're doing currently with, at least with VC, because all of the secrets for that end up being within the same as the control. The
different namespace. You see the
same as the control plane, but not as the CRs.
Yeah, not in the CR.
Okay.
In the control plane, not in the CR.
Okay, so yeah, that should work. That's just something to note that has come up in CAPI multiple times.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Well, I wonder if that's going to cause us any. I don't think that'll cause us any issues as of yet, but that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah, I don't see copy has, at least I don't see obvious problem with copy, but do the same because of it. So if there is no naming conflict, so that probably should be okay.
Yeah. Cool. All right, I'm going to open the floor. Is there any other things that people want to bring up, talk about, ask questions? Because we're at the end of our agenda already.
Nothing really from me. I joined 15 minutes late anyway, so I think I've relinquished my right.
All right. I think action items this week. I'm going to finally get myself around to doing the NCP doc. I'll share the HackMD with you, Faye, so that you can check out what I've written so far.
Yeah.
We can move forward on that. And then after that, if there's still some time, I'm gonna get back to starting on that the nested API server implementation at least. Because I can build that without the etcd implementation in place, since I can just pass in those values and we'll sub them out later. So as long as I can get the NCP doc in place, I'll just get working on that.
That would be most important thing, because that I would expect that it needs some more debates or discussions.
For sure. Cool. All righty.
Okay.
We can give everybody back some time then.
Yeah. Okay. See you.
All right. See y'all later. Have a great rest of the day.
Bye.
Bye.